You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Eternal Tournament Series, Season 1, Invitational 2018. I am Gabe, also known as Calimdir, and here in the booth with me to break it down this Round 4 matchup is LocoPojo.
Hey guys, welcome to the round. We are looking at TinMan versus camat0. TinMan is running a Film Scar control deck featuring the typical Dirac Queen's Guard, some Channel the Tempest and a Zindil's Gift at the top, and a pretty sizable amount of just, your basic standard stuff. Statuary Maiden doing some crazy mix-ups and having a little bit of fun with a very, very light red splash. On the other side, we have camat0 running Ikaria the Liberator deck, FJS removal pile with 2 Daishos and 4 Ikarias, tons and tons of value at the top, and then Slay, Auric Runehammer, Rise the Challenge, and all of the crazy stuff in the middle to sort of make things happen, including Privilege Rank, which is a card that I really love for setting up the necessary power to get moving on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is a deck that we've seen camat0 play for quite some time now, that close to the deck that camat0 won the World Championship last year with, now with the addition of the nerfed Wanted poster, which wasn't even in existence then. We saw Ikaria Blue, take down a similar film list, but this film list has Statuary Maiden, which is Stone Scar, and Boar in the sideboard from TinMan, which could sway the matchup in their favor. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, we have a pretty sizable matchup going on. There's a lot of cool stuff happening, and looks like both players are getting ready to start here. We have a decent amount of control going into the mix, and it's looking like a pretty sweet game coming up.
Yeah, and the other big thing is that camat0 does not have any Cobalt Waystones to protect himself from these in-cold bloods that TinMan is going to be playing for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a sizable pile of interesting options there. TinMan is rolling what looks like a little bit of film stuff out. I don't think we're going to see a lot happening in the first couple of turns because both players are playing very, very slow decks, but the more they can get out, the better off they're going to be.
Yeah, and so just some crests played here, and Wanted poster not at its best in this matchup.
Yeah, it's not gonna be amazing here. It is helpful if you can get it on any type of card. It is just effectively a draw 2, but you have to set it up, and certainly can be a little bit tricky to set up.
But I think Wanted poster is a little better than Statuary Maiden is in this matchup, because Statuary Maiden really wants these grindy time mid-range decks and then maybe some aggressive decks. That's where Statuary Maiden feels the most at home, not against Ikarias and Throne Wardens.
Yeah, so looks like we have a reasonable amount of stuff set up here. We got Felon Bloodcaster available for TinMan when he wants it. He's actually holding off on playing it for the moment while he strategizes and gets some other stuff put together. In Cold Blood is available in his hand, which is a pretty good card if he can get it onto an Ikaria, because just stopping the Ikarias is such a big deal. But at the moment, I'm not sure if he's looking at anything amazing for his current setup.
Yeah, we saw TinMan put that Statuary Maiden to the bottom of his deck with that strategize for the reasons I mentioned. And drawing the in Cold Blood is going to be huge here.
Yeah, it's a pretty critical setup. And now we have just a pile of stuff. He's got to decide what he's going to be doing with his current turn. He's actually short on power for the 6 power stuff that he wants, which is Black Sky Harbinger and the stun. If he doesn't get that stuff down, it's going to be a little bit tougher for him to get to things. In the meanwhile, camat0 is still sitting on a big fancy pile of cards, getting up to that Ikaria setup and getting a little bit closer to making a win happen.
Dark Return is an interesting card in this matchup. So TinMan elects to just play out the champion, doesn't want to lose tempo, doesn't want to pass the turn. But I think in a matchup that is going to go fairly long, I'm not sure if that's worth it. I mean, Ikaria ends games pretty quickly, so I understand the risk there, but that's a huge punish.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. I feel like TinMan just not having the necessary power to start playing threats down is being a bit of an issue here. It's very, very hard for him to get the stuff that he wants out. Champion of Cunning actually came out and got immediately murdered. You generally don't play that until it's got an Aegis, but TinMan's a little desperate. He needs to play something out and actually get some pressure going, or else there's the Ikaria, and it goes basically unanswered for a little while.
Well, he had the Dark Return, and he was like, all right, at least I'm doing something. At least I'm trading a card. And then, wow, in cold blood, takes out the Ikaria from camat0's hand and pulls the rest out of their deck.
So that's every Ikaria. Now camat0's got, he got the auric Runehammer off the top of the deck, which means he is looking very good on board. Getting that auric Runehammer early is very, very critical. We saw how good this was last time we saw this matchup with Feln versus Armory, where basically just having that big, big weapon means that even though you've lost your Ikarias, you still have a really sizable threat. And once your opponent gets through that threat, you can still sometimes get the push through with the rest of your weapons. So it's going to be a little bit hard for TinMan to recover from this, but if he can stabilize, he'll be okay.
Well, TinMan has Champion of Cunning on top of his deck, so he's going to be able to play Champion of Cunning into Champion of Cunning, which is not bad by any means. However, Runehammer can just answer both, and it doesn't even matter because Torch Vanquish is going to take care of this first one. TinMan is going to take 13 damage here and just be dead next turn.
We're looking at just a huge, super aggressive style. Like, unlike the Ikaria blue deck, which was kind of being very, very conservative and waiting for those islands choices to make sure that nothing bad happened to its weapons. This time around, like, camat0's just going straight for the face, and the Feln deck can't deal with it. There's just nothing but slow threats in his hand, and Black Sky Harbinger is definitely not going to do it. He's got the Slay, he's got a huge, huge weapon, and he's got lethal.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that had to do with how the draws turned out, more than even the styles of the deck. I do think Ikaria Blue is a bit more defensive, but camat0 just had a great curve out, had the Ikaria right away, and had already developed the Throne Warden, whereas we never really saw any Throne Wardens in the other matchup. And yeah, that's going to be a quick 1-0. We're going to see what players come up with in the sideboards. I think Boar is going to be a huge player post-board.
Boar could be fairly relevant. I don't know. I don't love Boar against Armory decks just because it's kind of slow answer to most threats, and there aren't that many things that you can actually put it on. Like, it kills a weapon through an Aegis, which is always a good thing. But beyond that, you've got, like, you're looking at Starsteel Daisho and you're looking at auric Runehammer. It's kind of okay if you actually get to in cold blood the Ikarias and then your opponent comes down with that big, big weapon. So I feel like it's probably going to see a little bit of play. In the meantime, camat0 can increase the number of weapons. He can roll cards like Flamestoker, which are... Oh, Flamestoker I think is such a big deal for this deck, actually.
Yeah, the more I think about it, I think you're correct about Boar. Ruin is usually pretty good versus Armory because it trades 1-for-1 with Runehammer the turn it comes down, but Boar does not have that luxury. Runehammer still gets to get in for its attack, and then you Boar afterwards, and it's not really that useful, and you're only ever going to see one relic on the board at a time for Armory unless these Flamestokers come out. So you lose a little bit of value.
I like it better against Ikaria blue type decks because they do have that Aegis, but camat0's not even actually trying to protect his face. He's just trying to play every weapon that he can and force his opponent to react to him. And that's definitely what's going to happen here. I feel like camat0's got the better setup for this round. Like, TinMan can roll the Rain of Frogs, he can roll the Azindel's Gift, but even then he's only about as prepared as the previous Feln versus Armory type list that we saw. And I don't know if any of his other cards are just game clinchers against the Armory deck.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of sabotages exchange back and forth in this matchup as both players having many copies in their sideboard. camat0 with 4 and TinMan with 3. As we get into game 2 here, camat0 starting off with a Crest of Chaos, and it got that Seek power to start on Justice, but really needs to draw a couple more.
Yeah, it's looking like a Sabo plus a Wisdom, and camat0's got very, very, very poor power here. He's going to be able to set up 3 power, and if he can't find any more, then he's going to get stuck in the same way that the Feln deck did. TinMan has, I think, the favorable hand just because of all the power, but if camat0 actually gets those Flamestokers out, then that's a much better deal.
Yeah, the Flamestoker coming in, or we get to see that the Flamestoker did come in for sure, which we expected, and it's going to be interesting, like you said. very good in this matchup if TinMan doesn't just control the board with champions.
Yeah, so we are looking at like just a pile of crazy things happening here. Camat0 is flirting with disaster here. I just feel like if he doesn't find power, his deck ceases to work. In the meantime, TinMan is setting up with the sabotage. He's going to get Flamestoker out of his opponent's hand. Might actually go for the harsh rule if he feels like it, but I think that just getting anything is really, really good. And if TinMan actually sabos the Seek power, that's going to be game. Like, I don't know. There's just so many things that have to go right for Camat0 for this hand to work.
Yeah, I think if I'm in Camat0's position, I would want to maybe not even cast a Seek power on turn 2, and just for that tiny chance that maybe I draw a power. I'm not sure if Seek power has a chance to take a power right off the top of your deck or not.
Yeah, TinMan cannot sabo this turn, so he can't take out the Seek power without Camat0 casting it first. But if I were Camat0, I would probably not. I would probably throw that Seek power away because like he wants to not have that in his hand when the sabo comes around.
Yep.
All right. So we see a crest here.
Seek power for Camat0. That's a lifesaver.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. And we might see him play it here, or we might see him just hold on to it. Looks like he is holding on to it. So TinMan's got the sabotage, and if he wants to grab the Seek, he can. He can also grab the Flamestoker. It really depends on what he feels is worst. So he knows that there are 6 cards in Camat0's hand. 5 of them, or 4 of them are attachments. One of them could be like a power, or it could be an Ikaria, and yeah, I guess he actually does. There's the Throne Warden as well, so he can't really tell that his opponent is fairly locked on power. So goes for the Flamestoker. That is the most dangerous threat. Camat0's got the double Justice now. He's going to be safe for the next couple of turns as he sets up his power influence. And he's got a pretty good chance of actually just getting to Throne Warden on time and stabilizing well enough to get to Ikaria later.
Yeah. Meanwhile, though, TinMan's hand is not bad by any means. Having Wisdom is always great in this matchup. There's a boar to answer potential Daisho or Sword of the Sky King. As we see Sabotage come out, what is Camat0 going to take here?
I mean, I think it's got to be the Wisdom of the Elders.
Yeah.
The boar is not as threatening as it seems, and Bara's Favor is just really, really not a card that he cares about that much. As long as he gets rid of some of TinMan's bigger threats, that means that TinMan doesn't have In Cold Blood later for Ikaria.
So Camat0 here, stuck on 4. Not terrible, still okay with a Vanquish and Harsh Rule in hand. And then as soon as he gets to 7 power, as long as In Cold Blood doesn't take out the first Ikaria, he's still got a really solid win condition.
Yep. Okay, so TinMan getting the Vanquish out of Camat0's hand. Camat0 drawing the 3rd Ikaria.
3rd premium Ikaria.
Oh, that's devastating if TinMan actually finds his In Cold Blood, but Camat0's also stuck on 4 power right now, so he's going to be like sort of searching for the correct answers. Wanted Poster gives him a little bit to play with. He doesn't have the ability to draw off of it yet, unless he chooses to throw it onto the Black Sky Harbinger. And if he throws it on the Black Sky Harbinger, TinMan can bore it off.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting. I don't know that would be... I mean, I think it would actually end up being worth it. I think it's 1 for potentially 2 cards.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's well worth it here, especially since TinMan knows that there's no weapons in Camat0's hand, or at least has a pretty good inkling that there's no weapons in Camat0's hand. You've got to see the Harsh Rule coming, so he's going to strategize twice. He found his In Cold Blood, and that's going to be devastating for Camat0. Camat0's got 3 Ikarias here. Even if he gets to 7 and plays the Ikarias, TinMan can knock both of the Ikarias out of his hand, and that's way bigger than knocking them out of his deck. Like, that is a really, really critical turn.
Yeah, not sure if TinMan's going to go for the borderline here, because it's not, the first thing you think of, but I definitely think keeping Camat0 off of power is...
Yeah, if you get the opportunity to knock an In Cold Blood, I think you should. And yep, there it goes. It is gone, and now Camat0 does not have the option of drawing up to 7 power on a guarantee. The power is still coming pretty regularly, so he's still looking okay on that front. He can Harsh Rule if he wants to, but he's probably going to stick it out and just sort of... no, yeah, we do see the Harsh Rule, and plays that down so that he can play Throne Warden next turn. TinMan is just waiting for that Ikaria. I'm betting he really, really wants to see it right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be brutal. This is gonna be absolutely horrible for a camat0 here.
Oh man, I really want to see that in Cold Blood get 4 Ikarias. Oh, camat0, just rise for an Ikaria, man.
camat0.
I'm sure he's going for an Orc Runehammer because that's a much safer play, but I just want to see 4 Ikarias in camat0's hand for no reason. All right.
Don't do it. Don't do it, man.
Oh, do it, man. I'm totally into it. Okay, let's see here. All right, we got the Auric Runehammer taking out the Black Sky Harbinger, which is a fairly critical blocker. camat0's now at the necessary influence to play Ikaria out.
Oh!
TinMan threw his Varus Vapor away. That's really bad, actually. If he doesn't have an answer to... Like, he needs to draw a Death Strike. Ikaria is coming down this turn. It's got to be.
This is going to be crazy.
Okay, no, camat0's forcing TinMan to respond with everything that he's got. He's going to just threaten as much as possible. TinMan's got 41 life to play with, though, so he's not too worried about this. He just gets to play Champion of Cunning out and then, like, sort of set up. I'm not sure if he kept Champion of Cunning on top or if he's looking for an answer to the Ikarias. Like, if camat0's Ikaria comes down here...
He doesn't know about all the Ikarias.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to have an inkling at this point.
Well, you know, there's one.
All right, what? Didn't attack?
He had already attacked with Throne Warden.
Okay. Yeah, I guess he was testing the waters for a fast spell removal card, and now he's just going to play Ikarias down twice. Okay, I think that makes sense. That's a reasonable play here.
All right, see, look, here's how you beat in Cold Blood. If they're all on the field, they can't be ripped out of your hand, obviously.
Yeah. Exactly. Just play multiple Ikarias. Your opponent doesn't really have like any sort of in Cold Blood into in Cold Blood. So that's the Ikarias gone. There is still a +10 bonus here, and camat0 does lose. Essentially, it's a 1-for-1 trade, but it's not too bad there.
Oh wow, okay, he'll leave that there.
Yeah, that looks pretty big.
I was expecting to see a 15/15 Ikaria get ripped off his deck and into the void, but it did not happen.
Okay, so TinMan has access to basically nothing here. He's got the Permafrost for the Valkyrie Enforcer, which means he's not going to be threatened by it, but he's slowly getting beaten down by these Throne Wardens, and he doesn't have a great answer to them. If he finds Black Sky Harbinger, he'll be mostly okay. camat0's out of cards, so Black Sky Harbinger will hold as long as camat0 doesn't pull a critical removal card.
I mean, 8 damage a turn is not a slow clock.
Yeah, TinMan is really hurting here. He's actually drawing too much power now, and camat0's top decks, while not great, are still giving him something to play with.
Yeah, these Wander posters.
Oof.
Oh, okay. Well, Sabotage is gonna see that there's a bounty on TinMan's head, and camat0 is coming to claim it.
Yeah, not enough proactivity in TinMan's hands. So once the Ikarias were down, that was it.
And that's going to be 2-0 for camat0. That's going to put our reigning world champion at 4-0, and that's going to qualify them for day 2.
Yeah, really, really solid play from camat0 there, and certainly got the better of that in Cold Blood base deck. I'm really
that was a really tense situation for a moment there.
I am really not that down on in Cold Blood being played in most decks. I think it's a little too slow and a little too clunky for most setups. It's always nice to see if it gets the high roll though.
Yeah, I think in this particular event, it's very good just because of all of the justice we're seeing.
Oh, we've seen it do, like, we haven't seen it win a game against, like, an Armory deck, though. Even in the games where it's actually gotten the Ikarias out, it's just been too slow. Like, there's just been not enough stuff happening. Yeah. You lose all that proactivity, and then something else kills you because all you're doing is cranial extractioning your opponent's deck. So there's just, like, yeah, it doesn't give you enough advantage early on. I don't know. I'm still pretty down on this card's design, but I think it is it's at least a reasonable removal card that happens to respond to everything. So. Yeah.
The thing is, I think you still need Death Strike or something in that slot in most of the decks that are playing it. You just need answers. The problem is
absolutely.
A lot of these decks, they don't have the proactive win conditions, and that's what they're really missing.
Yep.
Outside of Champion Cunning, losing Vera just makes things a lot harder.
Yeah, there was certainly a powerful way to finish out at the end game. Like, certainly Channel the Tempest is filling that slot just fine, I think. But it's a really interesting setup.
Yep. But I'm not aware of any. Okay, so we do have a backup match for you guys. Missingtoez versus Krizalio. As we get that set up for you, let me take a look at the deck lists. One of the players has spectating disabled, so that's fun.
No worries.
Krizalio is on. Krizalio is on Chalice, which is why this is a backup match because it's still going. And
There's one thing Chalice can do: it's lose slowly.
Yeah, and Missingtoez is on Elysian midrange, and that is a deck that I'm very interested in what this particular build is, because Elysian midrange is a deck that has spawned many permutations with the release of not only the Dusk Road, but Dead Reckoning has just given a lot more life to that deck, and this particular build has Ageless Mentor in it, which is pretty exciting, as well as Praxis Displacer, World Bear Behemoth, and Duraka, and Predatory Carnosaur. So just jam it all in one deck. Can't lose if you have all the cards.
Yep. Oh man! So every time I load into one of these games with a Xenon Obelisk on the side, and there's already a bunch of power, all of the individual animations for the obelisk play, and you just get this nice series of tones as each obelisk lights up. It's a really nice little, just melodic adventure. Missingtoez here, sitting on 2 Dawnwalkers and a Sandstorm Titan, pushing as fast as he can through the Chalice deck. The Chalice deck is pretty close to stable. It's got the Sandstorm Titan down. It's looking at 3 health, so if Missingtoez can find any way to sneak damage through, a Crystallize, a Cerso, something with Killer that manages to actually get through, like, he'll be in better shape. But Krizalio draws the Combre Healer. That combined with a Chalice pull is going to put him into a pretty good position against this 1 Dawnwalker on board.
Yeah, and it looks like Krizalio is up a game, so if he closes this one out, that's going to be the series.
Okay, Harsh Rule takes away some hope. Desert Marshal is a card that Krizalio can at least play to draw if he needs to. He's currently pushing with the 3/9 in the air, trying to get exactly enough to win. He's, I think he's stable at 6. The Legion just has a hard time getting through this type of deck. So it's going to be fairly hard for anything to happen here. Missingtoez is probably going to be pretty comfortable attacking. That'll either trade with the 4/4 or with the Desert Marshal.
Yeah,
and the False Prince... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Once the Legion deck loses its board, it's just very difficult to pick up steam. The card that really does that for you is Dawnwalker, and we see those Dawnwalkers, 3 of them have been silenced already. Or wait, that's 1. Yeah, so 3 have been silenced already, and so that's Missingtoez's advantage, and just completely answered. So I don't really see a great way of getting back in this game, but now that there is at least lethal on the board with the Crystallize, there's a chance. But Island's Choice is waiting in the wings to answer that.
Yeah, I think that Island's Choice pickup for Krizalio may have sealed it. Basically, like, Missingtoez was really looking for that Crystallize, and now we see the Desert Marshal out. He actually throws the Island's Choice immediately because I think he's looking for lethal here. He's got 4, 8, I have to count, 13. He has 13 exact, but he's not going to let the Dawnwalker through. So instead of securing lethal, he's going to play it safe for 1 more turn, just in case his opponent has some sort of extra unit to play, which it turns out he does.
Yep. And I like this play from Krizalio because you don't need Crystallize if your opponent can't kill you with it. And that play removed Missingtoez's board. So yeah, I think it's perfectly fine. And that looks like Missingtoez is out of the running here, unless he draws something like a Sandstorm Titan here to trigger this.
I don't think Titan saves him here, honestly. Like, with Friendly Wisp into Cerso, he gets some extra draws, but at this point, Krizalio has lethal maybe just through attacks.
Yep. And that's it.
Yep. A good round. Krizalio gets himself set up, and I believe he takes that round.
Yeah, so what is Krizalio's standings after that matchup there? So let me take a look here.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Krizalio was 2 wins and 1 loss. So that's going to put Krizalio up to 3 wins and 1 loss. meaning they only need 1 win to secure their spot in day 2.
Yeah, Toes is 2-2, so I think he's got a chance of coming back in. He's got to get 1 or 2 more, but that's going to be the last 2 rounds. So yeah, should be potential for that to happen.
Yep. So that was the last game of round 4. I believe our 4-0 players. Well, we'll go over that in a minute. But for now, we'll catch you guys all back in round 5.
See you there.